So up first, we get you the latest on the world's largest democratic elections underway in India. So voting is underway for the fourth phase of India's Lok Sabha elections, covering 96 constituencies spread over 10 states and union territories. Polling is taking place in 13 seats in Uttar Pradesh, 11 in Maharashtra, 8 each in Madhya Pradesh and West Bengal, 5 in Bihar, 4 each in Odisha and Jharkhand, and 1 in J&K. A total of 1,717 candidates are in the fray for the fourth phase of general elections. In this phase, over 19 lakh polling officials are deployed across 1,92,000 polling stations. The voting began at 7 in the morning and will end at 6 in the evening. Upon completion of this phase, that's phase 4, polling will be finished in 23 states and union territories of India. And now let's connect with DD India correspondents spread across different parts of India. Akshay Dongre joins us live from Hyderabad and Amit Mukherjee joins us live from Ujjain. Amit, to you first. Madhya Pradesh completes its electoral process today with this phase. How has been the political slugfest last 30 days or so far?
Well, it has reached its crescendo actually, Tanvi, but first things, you know, it's very unusual to get rains, and as I speak right now, it just started pouring out here in Indore.
Okay.
So the weather has been extremely hot out here for the last 1 week or so, but it gives a big respite to residents and also to the Election Commission of India, which actually was hoping for more and more, voters to come out and vote, particularly because of the fact that the first two phases, it had seen, Madhya Pradesh had seen a very low, considerably low voter turnout, which was around 65%. Usually it is around 70 to 75%. Considering that, I would say today voting has been overwhelming. In fact, till 3 o'clock, the 60% mark was breached. And in fact, except for Indore, which was around 50% around 3 o'clock, most of the 7 other constituencies had actually breached the 60% mark.
Yeah, one could hope that with the rains that this number might go higher.
Yeah, it is going because, and again, I would like to also point out that since in Indore there were no opposition candidate for BJP, and a lot of people were actually disappointed by that, but still they came out and voted, and it's actually picking up at 5 o'clock. In fact, I spoke to a couple of people, like I'm standing at one of the central polling stations of Indore, and people are actually coming at this point in time. They're actually pouring in to cast their vote. And at the end of the day, they said whether there is a candidate or not, it is our duty to kind of cast our vote, which is why we are polling. And I wouldn't really be surprised that, it was lagging behind. Indore was lagging behind by a good 10% margin compared to the other constituencies. And I think it will make up for that.
Okay. Now let's connect with Akshay. Akshay, you are in Hyderabad and Telangana assembly polls got over in November last year. Do you see a ripple effect of the same in the Lok Sabha elections today?
Well, certainly the Congress would want that to repeat the performance of the last legislative assembly elections here in the state of Telangana. If you look at the numbers, out of 180 legislative assembly seats, in fact, the Congress party got a 64. That was a clear majority to the National Congress. The BJP could manage 8 seats out of the 119 seats. The BRS, which was earlier Telangana Prasar Bharati or TRS regional party, managed to get only 39 seats after ruling the state for years. However, when we look at the elections, the issue is quite different. The people of Telangana usually have been votational issue when it comes to the Lok Sabha election. That is why the results have been when it comes to the parties performing in the state. In fact, if you look at the 2019 result, out of the 17 seats, the Bharatiya Janata Party got 4 seats and outperforming the Congress party, which got 3 seats, and 1 going to a regional party, AIMIM. However, when you look at the ripple effect that it may on, there is the worry as well, because if you look at the performances that the Congress have made, they had and they had given a timeline as well that all of these 6 promises will be fulfilled in days after formation of the government has not been done by the Congress party. And because of that, supporters are charted with the Congress party as well. That may impact the Congress performance here. The BJP want to expand now to the viewers. We have to understand that this is one state of Telangana where the BJP has been performing better than the Congress party, and it wanted the state of Telangana to become their citadel, and so that they could South Indian as well. However,
Indeed. So critical test for all the parties here to find a stable political equilibrium. We leave it here. Thank you, Akshay Dongre. Thank you, Amit Mukherjee, for giving us the poll pulse of the country. As of now, let's tell our viewers in India that voting will close at 6 p.m. local time. Thank you. All right, let's move on. On to Europe now. The UK will witness the most dangerous but also the most transformational time during the next 3 years. This is what UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said in his pre-poll speech today. My colleague Ollie Barrett is in London. He gives us more on this and other stories making headlines around the world. Ollie, Sunak proposing some bold ideas in his pre-election pitch. Can they make a difference?
Well, the polls, Tanvi, suggest it's going to be very difficult for him to recover ground on the opposition Labour Party. But Rishi Sunak was insistent in that speech at a think tank in central London that more will change in the next 5 years than in the last 30. And the Prime Minister says he will prioritise national security over, for example, maintaining membership of the European Convention on Human Rights.
Now, I feel a profound sense of urgency because more will change in the next 5 years than in the last 30. I'm convinced that the next few years will be some of the most dangerous, yet the most transformational that our country has ever known. Now, I know that our international frameworks are outdated, so there may be flashpoints ahead with the ECHR. And if the Strasbourg court make me choose between the ECHR and this country's security, I will choose our country's security every single time.
In Spain, Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez's Socialist Party has won a local election in Catalonia. Salvador Illa, the regional socialist candidate, secured 42 seats with 99% of votes counted. Negotiations or a potential repeat election may follow, as the party hasn't yet secured a majority, but the win opens the door for a possible regional government led by an anti-independence party, which would be a shift from recent years.
One of the most important and relevant factors leading to victory has been the policies of the Spanish government and in particular of Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez. Catalonia today has decided to start up to function with respect, courtesy and counting on everyone, and also with ambition. With ambition to once again lead Spain economically.
Y también con ambición. Con ambición.
Israel is observing Memorial Day to honour fallen soldiers and victims of attacks since the nation's creation in 1948. A 2-minute-long siren sounded across Israel as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu attended a ceremony at Mount Herzl in Jerusalem. Against the backdrop of the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict, families of Israeli hostages staged a silent demonstration on a Tel Aviv highway. At the Memorial Day ceremony, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that the return of hostages is a central goal.
This is exactly what the war revolves around. It's either us, Israel, or them, the Hamas. We have exacted and we will exact a heavy price from the enemy for its criminal action. We will realize the goals of victory, and at the center of them is the return of all our hostages home. A victory that, with God's help, will ensure our existence and our future.
DD India's Sarah Coates joins us live now from Tel Aviv. Sarah, US officials continue to express opposition to Israel's operation in Rafah. What are we hearing from the Israeli military in response?
We heard from the Defence Minister Yoav Gallant, who was speaking at a Memorial Day ceremony. Just a little earlier, he said that this war will continue with all hostages freed, saying that Hamas's rule and its military capabilities will be dismantled and will bring back prosperity and creativity to the state of Israel. Now, the Israelis have been saying that really their main goal here is to finish off these remaining 4 Hamas battalions, which they claim are stationed down in the southern area of Rafah. And also they say that some of these senior leaders like Yahya Sinwar are hiding in tunnels under Rafah. But it is important to point out that US media is reporting this morning, citing senior officials close to Israel's and the US's spy agencies, as saying that Yahya Sinwar is not in Rafah. They say they have the intel to suggest that he's hiding in tunnels under Khan Yunis. So this could certainly invalidate the military's claims here as to why it is continuing this operation, Ollie, in Rafah.
Sarah, with fighting intensifying in Rafah and Jabalia, what's the latest on the ground?
Well, Ollie, we'll start with Rafah. According to the United Nations, some 360,000 internally displaced Palestinians that were sheltering there have now moved. They've gone to other areas, including this so-called expanded humanitarian zone, Al-Mawasi, which is in the west of the Gaza Strip, very far down in the south on the coastline there. But certainly people on the ground, they continue to say that the situation is deteriorating in terms of humanitarian supplies that they have to use. We're also hearing from aid agencies saying that right now hospitals, medical facilities are on the brink of collapse, given that barely any fuel has come into the Palestinian enclave over the past few days. Now, we also do know, according to the military, that fighting is intensifying also in and around the Jabalia refugee camp. It's important to add that this is an area that was previously cleared of Hamas fighters, but the IDF now says that they have regrouped, with reports of heavy battles on the ground. Now, hundreds of thousands of people have also been ordered to evacuate from this area. They've been told to go west of Gaza City, with the military calling it a dangerous combat zone. So certainly a lot of concern for these people on the ground. But it is important also to say that over the last couple of days, Ollie, many rockets have been fired from the Gaza Strip into Israeli territory down in these southern communities, and also rockets coming from Lebanon in the north.
Sarah Coates in Tel Aviv, thank you. Now, as part of efforts to increase aid routes into Gaza, Israel says it's opened a new humanitarian aid crossing. The Western Erez crossing in northern Gaza has been opened by the Israeli government in coordination with the United States. Dozens of trucks of humanitarian aid, coordinated from the port of Ashdod on behalf of the World Food Programme Organization, have been going there after undergoing security checks. In a surprise move, Russian President Vladimir Putin has replaced longtime Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu in a cabinet reshuffle. Shoigu, who had been battling criticism due to his handling of the Ukraine conflict, will now become the Secretary of Russia's powerful Security Council, apart from taking up responsibilities for the military-industrial complex. Sergei Shoigu will be replaced by economist and former Deputy Prime Minister Andrei Belousov, as Moscow seeks to better utilize the country's defense budget. DD India's Dasha Chernyshova reports from Moscow.
A veteran economist being appointed to the position of the country's defense minister. The understanding is that Moscow does want to beef up the output of its military-industrial complex and to streamline the produced weapons to the battlefield. The idea here is that the department of the Ministry of Defense has to be open to innovation as well as some advanced ideas. That's according to Peskov, and that's why Andrei Belousov, who has the economic background is expected to be bringing about that change into the defense ministry. We also understand that at this moment, Russia's defense budget has increased from 3%, then slowly to 3.5%, to 6%, to over 6% at the moment. That's again according to Dmitry Peskov, the rare figures we are receiving from the Kremlin, and that's why there is the need to make sure that this defense budget is allocated properly. In the meantime, Sergei Shoigu, who has been occupying this position for over a decade, will also have a role in the Russian military in terms of the Russian being the deputy to the Russian president. He will be also responsible for the military-industrial complex.
Russia says its troops, meanwhile, have improved their tactical position in Ukraine's Kharkiv region. Russia claims it has already seized at least 9 villages in the area, opening a new Ukrainian front in the ongoing conflict. Meanwhile, at least 15 Russians died and many were injured when part of an apartment block collapsed in Belgorod in the latest missile strikes by Ukraine. 2 people have also been killed in shelling of the Russian-controlled city of Donetsk in eastern Ukraine on Monday. Former US President Donald Trump's ex-lawyer Michael Cohen is set to testify in the hush money trial on Monday, where Donald Trump is accused of falsifying records to conceal a hush money payment to adult star Stormy Daniels. Donald Trump has pleaded not guilty to 34 felony charges. Thousands of people have gathered in New Jersey to support the former president. DD India's Sally Patterson sent us this report from New York.
Michael Cohen once said he would take a bullet for Donald Trump. Now he's the key witness in a trial which could see the former president jailed for years. The case is entering its 4th week, with several witnesses already taking the stand, including adult movie star Stormy Daniels. Last week, she took the jury through the sexual encounter she claims to have had with Trump, which he denies, and the money she said she was paid to keep quiet about it ahead of the 2016 presidential election. Cohen, Trump's former lawyer, allegedly paid her the $130,000 hush money payment. Prosecutors allege Trump then reimbursed him and filed that money as legal expenses, which they say was illegal. The former president has pleaded not guilty to 34 counts of falsifying business records and calls the trial a political witch hunt. Trump's team will likely try and undermine Cohen's credibility, as they have with many of the witnesses who've already taken the stand. They will also point to his criminal record. Trump has repeatedly called Cohen a convicted liar in the past. That's because Cohen already spent more than a year in federal prison for paying the hush money and committing other crimes. When he pleaded guilty to those charges, Cohen said he had paid the hush money at the direction of his former boss. And he told the judge, quote, "I feel it was my duty to cover up his dirty deeds." Sally Patterson in New York, reporting for DD India.
That's it from me here in London. Tanvi, over to you.
Thank you very much, Ollie. Ollie Barrett joining us all from London. You're watching DD India Global, still to come on the show. NATO Youth Summit 2024 commences in Sweden, Stockholm today. And India provides budgetary support to Maldives. The support granted for a $50 million loan for an additional year.
Versus facts. In-depth news and analysis with experts who will help you decide why this election matters. DD India is the main election headquarters, with numbers most accurate, data most reliable, and viewership across the platforms. Stay tuned to the Great Indian Election only on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. IST and 1500 hours GMT.
Thank you for staying with us on DD India Global. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Back to India now. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar stated that Shipping Minister Sarbanand Sonowal has signed a crucial long-term agreement in Tehran for India's operations at the strategic Chabahar Port. This agreement, which will be valid for the next 10 years between India and Iran, will make way for investment and will serve as a connecting link connecting India to Afghanistan, Central Asia and Eurasia.
The very clear expectation is that the Chabahar Port, at least that part of the Chabahar Port that we are involved in, that will definitely see more investments. It will see more connectivity linkages coming out of that port. And we believe today that connectivity is a very big issue in that part. International North-South Transport Corridor, which we are doing with Iran, Russia. Chabahar will connect us to that, also to Central Asia. We have a separate corridor, the IMEC corridor through Saudi Arabia.
India's Minister for Ports, Shipping and Waterways, Sarbanand Sonowal, earlier held a meeting with his Iranian counterpart on a diplomatic visit to Iran on Monday. India signed a long-term agreement with Iran on the development of the Chabahar Port. A 10-year contract has been signed between India Ports Global Limited and Ports and Maritime Organization of Iran, stating that an investment of $120 million in developing the port has been confirmed. The pact reaffirms India's firm footstep in the global supply chain and maritime sector. As a commitment towards the development of the port, India has offered $250 million to Iran's foreign minister. The port will add to India's blooming economy as it provides sea access to the landlocked countries of the region and serves as a commercial transit hub. The minister took to social media thanking Prime Minister Narendra Modi for strengthening links between the two great nations. Further, India has provided a budgetary support of $50 million to the Maldives. The support is in the form of a rollover of $50 million treasury bill for an additional year. This is through the State Bank of India. The Government of India's decision to roll over the treasury bill came following a request made by Maldivian Foreign Minister Musa Zamir to India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar during his official bilateral visit to India from 8th to 10th of May this year. Maldivian Foreign Minister took to social media platform X and thanked India for the vital budgetary support, calling it a gesture of goodwill, which signifies the long-standing friendship between India and the Maldives. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. The 2024 NATO Youth Summit commenced in Sweden's Stockholm on Monday. The summit is taking place across the Atlantic, with the second part of the event being held in Miami in the US state of Florida. The event aims to address the most pressing global issues of interest to the youths. Singapore's Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, who has held office since 2004, will hand over power to his designated successor, Lawrence Wong, on Wednesday. Lee announced the move last month. The handover comes ahead of an election scheduled to be held by next year. Wong is currently the Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister of Singapore. Indonesia's Ibu volcano on the remote island of Halmahera erupted on Monday morning. Thick columns of grey ash spewed several kilometers into the sky. The volcano erupted for about 5 minutes, projecting ash into the sky as high as 5 kilometers. No evacuation of residents has been reported so far. And the southern French city of Cannes looked serene ahead of the Cannes Film Festival scheduled to kick off on Tuesday. The 77th edition of the world's biggest film festival will bring together the industry's biggest luminaries to celebrate the art of filmmaking and cinema. And India will also host a pavilion called the Bharat Parv at the 77th Cannes Film Festival. So we all look forward to it. That's it in this edition of DD India Global. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on our different social media handles as well as on our DD India mobile app. You can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. So we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.